Welcome back. This is your host, Noura Almasri, and this is Echoes of Impact with Noura. We're still talking to Dr. Maria about leadership and change. Welcome back, Dr. Maria. So,
Thank you.
sure. So we were talking about the scarf, and you
Mhm.
mentioned like how people are afraid when there would be changing acquisition. So how would leader navigate through, okay, like making sure their staff or their team, they're really aware and they like, or maybe not they like, but they're gonna be okay and understanding what's going on. So they, because any change in performance might affect the company in a negative way,
Mhm.
affect the team spirit, like the communication between the team, and you never know what could happen. Like different people have different um, reaction, like, and the thing that how they react to any change. So how would the leader make sure like everyone on the same page and really communicate that effectively with the team?
So they part of it is I mentioned before driving and resisting forces. So part of that is talking with people who are advocates or allies of the change and building a team around that. And then people that are resisting the change, going out and talking with them to find out what do they see that the leader may not see about this change? Because usually, even though someone may be complaining about a change, there's some truth in what they have to say. So it can always make the change better by having those conversations and involving more people. Because the worst thing is when you walk into the office and then everything is changed and no one knows about it. So a leader really needs to prepare and really have allies for change and then hear out and be curious about people that are maybe not bought into it yet or can see some flaws that maybe need to be adjusted. So just finding out that information helps.
Awesome. So you do, I know you do coaching for teams and you do a lot of workshops about leadership. So can you tell me like what the leader usually asks you for, like what their most struggle, like when they deal with the team, regardless if it's with change or outside of the change. Like I know you have so many workshops coming up this year in 2025. So yeah, can you share with us like the leadership out there, like how do they feel and
Oh,
what do
sure.
they need help?
So sometimes, so we've had some changes around how leadership works, and the means that, of course, it's always built on relationships.
Mhm.
So a long, long time ago, the early theories of leadership were called the great man theory, and that was that one person is the strong leader and telling everyone what to do. Well,
Mhm.
now, since there's so many different ways that people work, people need to know how to adapt and engage with people more instead of all the top-down leadership. It's a little more of a lateral leadership. So they have to work on communication. And if they're definitely in hybrid or remote environments, they need to figure out how do they build team when people are not in the office. Another aspect is taking a look at how they really listen to people and understand them. So expressing emotional intelligence and empathy.
You brought a really good points about like having a virtual team. So yeah, really a lot of people like I see my maybe some of my friends and other their work, they call them back to be in office because they're not sure how productive they are. Not only these people, but like in all the team, like in general. Even sometimes their positions would be easy to be done in a virtual setting, regardless if there's hybrid work environment or not. Actually, they might be more productive from working virtually than being in the office. But still, some leaders, they really want people to go into the office because they feel like sense of they cannot control, they don't see. I know a lot of leaders, if they don't see you working, they don't believe you are working. And it's happened to me before when I was working at one of the places. I'm not gonna say what I where, but I understood that my boss at that time, in order for him to know that I'm working, I need to copy him on every single email
Oh,
because
wow.
he felt, I mean, he didn't ask me to. I just did that to show him that I'm working because I saw that like a lot of people in that company or organization, they did not, he always like feel like no one is working, even though they are working, but he did not see. So he did not know they are working. So he's always complaining. So I noticed that, I got that, and then that's what I did. Like I would copying him, I was copying him in emails, like even if he doesn't need to to be there. So yeah, what do you say like to that? Like how do you think the leadership should navigate that? And also how do you think the employee or the team members can really um, tell their leader that hey, we are working, we're productive, without copying them in every single email like I did?
Yeah, well, the two kind of go together. So it's how the team is communicating overall, and the leader sets the tone for that. So maybe there's a Monday check-in. Everybody checks in and says, "Hey, this is my focus for the week," and then they can report out. And so that's kind of letting people know what they're doing. And then at the end of the week, they have a follow-up check-in, like what were your wins? Now, you could do that on a daily basis, or you could do it on a weekly basis. So it's just a matter where there's open communication to find out, what's going on with different projects, what people are working on. And so that's a really important part, is to establish a communication pattern. The meetings are stable time, so people kind of know what's going on. And then the other question that you asked me about is, instead of CCing your boss on every single email, in when you're having one-on-ones, or when you have great wins during the week, that would be a way to make sure that you're communicating upward. What were your successes for the week? Where maybe you have some questions. So you're still in line, so your boss knows what you're working on, your successes and wins, and maybe where you could get some extra assistance or perspective from them.
Sounds good. Now, like sometimes there are some positions it's easier than others to report a win. For example, like if you are in sales, if you are maybe, let's say, like I have someone who does taxes, like to tell me, hey, this is how many taxes I got done, or this is how many, whatever it is, like the business is about. But sometimes it's not really that easy to report on a win. For some positions like IT or maybe like software engineers, some stuff like this, or maybe even H&R person. So for those positions, like what would you say like it would be effective for them?
So usually they're on larger projects, so it's not like there's an ending to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, how depending on how they have their project set up, any of the projects that they're working on, where are they heading with it? So it doesn't necessarily have to be always a win or how many taxes, it's just a matter of being able to find a way to communicate that you're fulfilling the mission of the organization. And it could be, a client story that you have that you could share. So that would be another way to kind of share, and not necessarily always in that win category, but just what's happening.
Awesome. So do you find that it's easier from the team side or from the leadership side? Because I know like a lot of leaders, like they're put in the position, not necessarily they like that they're being a leader. It's just like something they have to do.
They fell into it.
Yeah.
They were so good and they got promoted.
Yes. And then what, like from your experience, who do you think is more challenging, for like, is it the team or is it the leader?
Oh, when that situation happens. I mean, I think there's a big gap of the leader's skill. So they're going to struggle for a while, and then the whole thing is really about how everybody communicates, because a leader is also influenced by their followers. So are they going to want to do their jobs or not? And so those are some of the other pieces to it, because sometimes the followers take the lead. So that's kind of interesting. So you can have, like I had mentioned before, sometimes when people are not liking change and you want to have a conversation with them, that's where a follower is really leading the team. So I think that that's an important point to think about today is that a team focus for leadership. And there's this one researcher, Joseph Raylan, who talks about how you can be leaderful. And that's where you have the enough, I guess, uh, where you don't have to be prideful in your leadership. You can just say, "Hey, I'd like to find out how you think this could go better," or ask good questions and engage people. So be more leaderful, where you're kind of sharing the power across the team instead of just being a stakeholder of a leader.
And how can you avoid, like, this is a very effective and very good strategy, but sometimes some people may misuse that power, and they start to disrespect the leader. Like, how can the leader avoid that, but yet to get the team to buy in and anything that they are gonna do?
So there has to be a careful conversation, and really, as a person, as a leader starts to notice a difference in an employee's performance, is to have those conversations, to really dig in to figure out what's going on, because
Mhm.
it could be unrelated to the job.
Okay,
It
so
could be.
everything comes down then to communication and leadership. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Maria. We're going to get back to you after the break for
Okay.
the last segment of the show for today. Guys, stay with us. We're going to talk more to Dr. Maria about leadership and change. This is Echoes of Impact with Noura. We'll be right back.